Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about culture. I hope I don't frighten you with my new little camera. I'm still experimenting with OBS. Haven't given up on it, and that is moi. So don't be too shocked. Anyway, the article I want to read today is early humans and the dawn of information sharing. Now, this touches on culture, and my definition of culture, which I've refined from all the definitions that are out there, is what I think. That is my own opinion, and it's worth what it's worth, but I think I have enough understanding and enough credibility on my part, and the definition that I put forward is and can be tested, and it is thus: culture is everything that can be passed on to your offsprings that is not biological. So we discount, first of all, every genetic and genes and biology completely. That is a separate field. Well, where culture is immaterial, it's learning, it's what you learn, and it is not restricted to human beings or the hominin or even primates for that matter. So that is why I will start this stream as defining what culture is. Now, this article touches upon culture, as you can see by the heading, early information sharing. That is what culture is. Everything below that is culture. Technology, politics, religion, costumes, how you eat your food, how you prepare your food, how you hunt, how you prepare flint, how you make bowls, how you decorate, how you dress, how you make your dress, how you make your bowls, how you weave your prepare your materials to make other everything below is culture. Everything that you can pass on to your offspring is culture, and that includes non-primate or non-human species. It's out there. There's so many examples of it. We have in the primates we have our closest relatives, the chimpanzees and the bonobos, the gorillas, even going a bit further back let me rephrase this. Going into the New World monkeys, we know that some of the macaques and monkeys in South America and in the Americas actually teach and pass on methods of cracking nuts using stone tools, etc. There's an article out there. I'll try and link it into the description. I forgot about that, but I'll link it into the description if I don't. It's easy to find. Just follow my Twitter. But anyway, getting back to this team challenges accepted notions of cultural transmission. Was published yesterday. Yesterday, from the Washington State University, and the researchers are challenging a widely accepted notion, first advanced by paleoanthropologist Richard Lewis Leakey, that a 2 million year old stone represents the dawn of human ancestors sharing information with each other. That is the grandeur title. So let's get. This is an Oldowan tool. Oldowan tools come from the Olduvai Gorge, and they seem to be associated with Homo habilis, at least up till now. But it's still in dispute, because there is evidence coming forth that maybe Homo habilis were not the first to produce these stone tools, which I may discuss in a future video that I make. But when I get more evidence, more study, that's the actual more articles and etc. But we will cover this article now, just so you guys know. That's an old divide tool. It's basically a simple pebble about the side of your head, which a couple of flakes have been cracked up to spliced off to produce a crude cutting edge, and you can see the crude cutting edge about here where it says click to enlarge. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of lag, but never mind. So we're going to that. Every day information washes over the world like so much weather. From casual conversations, tweets, text, emails, advertisements, and news stories, human processes countless discrete pieces of social transmitted information. That is just one minute aspect of culture. How we transmit information is a cultural aspect in itself. How we acquire knowledge is one. How we absorb this knowledge is another one, etc. It is vast. Culture is a vast thing. It is all encompassing in the hominins and in some other species. So anthropologists call this process cultural transmission, or you can say learning. It's just need one word instead of cultural transmission. It's just learning. Easy. And there was a time when it did not exist. No, there wasn't. I disagree with this statement right from the get-go. There was never a time when cultural processes in at least the primates, and we are getting evidence of that, when we transmit culture to our offspring continuously since primates. We have evidence from hominids and hominins. So when humans or more likely their smaller brain ancestor did not pass on knowledge. No, we've always passed on knowledge. If you taught your offspring the most simplest task, how to crack open a nut with a stone, that is knowledge. You are transmitting it to your offspring. I'll give you an example. There are macaques in Japan, Japanese macaques, and in the 60s, I don't have the links here, but it was an experiment performed where they would feed the macaques this way. They would feed the macaques at the beach, because there were also the highland macaques and the lowland macaques, and they did experiments with that. Where in the lowland macaques, I'll give these as an example. They would throw grains onto the beach or close to where there was a sand. They just put them in the pole, dump them in the pole in the sand, and they would get mixed up with the sand, etc. A female, about in the 1960s, somehow picked up a handful of the seeds with the sand, etc. Took it to the water, dropped that seed in. The sand would fall down and scoop up the washed seeds. I think they were rice or wheat or whatever. Thus, basically beginning a new knowledge. And apart from washing the seeds, they would also be salted. And there were a few young macaques that observed the behavior of that single female and copied it. That is learning. That is what they are saying here. They were passed on knowledge. So I already object with this article. And Luke Permo, Associated Professor of Anthropology at Washington State University, would like to know when that was. When primates evolved. That's my answer. Writing in the October issue of the current Anthropology, he and 3 other colleagues challenged the widely accepted notion that cultural transmission goes back more than 2 million years. I would say even longer. I would actually say much, much longer. So no, I already see. I'm objecting. This is wrong. Well, it's not wrong. That's their interpretation. They got their interpretation. I feel that they got their interpretation wrong. Now, Exhibit A. This is in this debate the old Darwin chopper. I'll show you guys. That's this stone utensil that's been held in a hand. You can see that it's been chipped, so exposing a blade which is a cutting edge, or more or less it's a crude. A smooth fist-sized rock with just enough material removed to make a crude edge. Writing in Nature in 1964, the prominent archaeologist Louis Leakey connected the tools with what he said with the first member of the Homo genus, Homo habilis, or handy man. That's what it means. Habilis means handy in Latin. So it's quite easy. Leakey and his colleagues did not explicitly say Homo habilis learned to make the tools through cultural transmission, but the word culture alone implies it. Well, as I've already given the definition, which my definition of what culture is, and I think it is a good definition. It is everything you can transmit to your offspring that is not biology, because you can't transmit you can't learn genes, you transmit them biologically, and that's the difference between biology and culture. So all of the contemporary figures that any stone tool must be an example of culture, because they thought that humans are the only animals that make or use tools, and humans rely on cultural transmission to do so. As I said in the beginning, not so, said Premo. It makes sense to them that the time this ability might in fact distinguish other genus from the others. No, it does not. There are non-primate animals that transmit culture. Like I said, there are parrots. I forget what they are called, but my friend Archaeology will most certainly name them. They are a parrot of New Zealand. They have learned to basically strip cars, rubbers, windshield wipers, etc. And they have learned a lot of things. There are crows that have learned to make tools to get to grubs. There are other birds that also have done that, to actually construct tools to get to grubs, and they transmit them one way or somehow to their offspring, because it's not something that they have always done. They have to have learned this behavior. That's why culture is not exclusively to our own species, for example, or even our own genus. So this is an article which I completely disagree with at the moment. So, more than half a century later, Premo and his colleagues at the University of Tübingen, George Washington University, and the Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Anthropology, you can't learn genes. You transmit them biologically. They are not the same as culture. I'll say that again. We're asking for better evidence that the technique of making stone tools were culturally transmitted. You cannot culturally transmit genes. Genes are biological. You have to mate with a partner to produce the offspring. Your offspring will automatically have your genes. But you can teach your offspring new things that you have never, or that your parents have not figured out. That is the difference. Writing in the journal Current Anthropology, they say that the tools could have been what led author Claudio Tene called latent solutions. They rely on the animal's inherent skills rather than the cultural transmission. Homo habilis could have learned to make the older one tools on his own or her own, much like chimps use sticks to fish for termites. Yes, but someone had to learn them. Now that first first example, I'll call him example one. He would have taught his descendants or the generation after, like I gave the example of the Japanese macaques, to learn this behavior. It's not in your genes. This is something you learn. This is something you transmit. We don't transmit our fashion sense in our genes. It is something that, yes, we have innate tastes and our but biology only plays a small part in culture. It is separate from culture. Because, like I said before, I gave an example. So, no. Our main question is, how do we know from these kinds of stone tools that this was the baton that someone passed on? Because it continued until the Acheulean stone tools came about, for example. The Acheuleans were the Neanderthals, by the way. Hefting an older one tool in the hand, or was it like the chimp case where individuals could figure out how to do this on their own during the course of their lifetimes? No, they were not figuring it out. They were learning from their older family members, group members. Someone figured it out generations back, fishing for termites, and it's been transmitted to practically all the chimpanzees. Pan troglodytes, by the way. So, no, this is wrong. No. Older one tools may look cool and new and like it would require a lot of brain power. Yes, because we've found the one example, one cross-section, but of course it would have taken a lot of millions of years, hundreds of thousands of years even. The first, I can almost imagine the first tool or stone tool that a Homo habilis or even its ancestor, which I will for now say it's Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy, found a carcass of a dead animal that would have been scavenged and eaten by the predators, killed by a lion. Then all the other scavengers came in, and what was left is the big bone marrow of the tibia leg that would not have been crushed or something. And little scraps around that area, because most of the carnivores probably wouldn't, and the scavengers probably wouldn't have picked up all of the meat and etc. And they would have grabbed a stone somehow. One individual, like the female macaque in Japan, grabbed the stone and hit a cracked bone, an already cracked bone that was cracked by the hyenas to extract some of the marrow, but left some of it there, a small section, and said that individual would have probably grabbed the stone, hit the bone, and it would crack and get to the marrow. Afterwards, he would have that individual, she, whatever, would have figured out that if I grab a stone and break this rest of the bones, I could get some of the marrow that was there. As time would pass, hundreds of thousands of years or whatever, they would have refined and find a stone that had a natural edge, that was been broken up naturally, and used that and found that it was more efficient. The next generation would have observed that, look, they would have learned that a certain edge would have been more efficient, and someone probably accidentally, even while hitting it, chipped a bit of that stone, because they would have had a weaker type of stone instead of the pebbles or something, and they would have observed that, ooh, this edge is a little bit better. This is simplification of the process that would have happened over hundreds of thousands of years, but these are the steps that would have led to the Alduin stone tools, which are these. These are simple. They're just stones pebbles that have been struck 3 or 4 times to make a very, very crude cutting edge. That's how it's a most likely scenario. In fact, it's the most simplest scenario I could think of. I've been thinking about this a lot, not now, but before. So I know more or less. I already have the thought processes already made. So that's possibly how it would simply have been made. Simple steps, but over a long time, get you there. Like the chimpanzees, they now strip away a twig of all the leaves to get to fish for termites. Possibly the first one just stuck a normal twig, or pulled out a twig from a termite mound and started eating, and figured that out. That's how it would be simple. So that this type of tool changed little for more than 1 million years. Of course, because it's efficient enough to get what they wanted, suggesting that the individuals who made them had the same mental or motor abilities. Not necessarily. It was an efficient way of extracting what they needed. They did not need to change their technology because they were getting what they wanted. It was later, when possibly we harnessed fire, that actually our tools from our lineage exploded. So the Acheuleans, which came later, the techniques that are culturally transmitted, yes, they are, because they did not need to transmit anything more advanced. The chimpanzees we know that they have been fishing for termites for a long time. They continue to make the same exact method of producing their fishing quote unquote rod. So some hominin technologies, like the Mousterian tool used by Neanderthals, wow, they missed the whole Acheulean toolkit, which is an advance of the older ones, which were the Acheuleans were huge axes which had bifacial flaking. They were formed deliberately, and they could even be thrown, according to some theoretical archaeologists and experimental archaeologists, because they've made some experiments I have not seen replicated, by the way. So I'm taking these with a grain of salt, where if you throw an Acheulean hanging axe, look them up. Acheulean. They sort of the pointy bit goes forward somehow. I don't know, but no, this is jumping technology. 160. It's older. Mousterian is a little bit older than 160, 40,000 years ago, and 40,000 years is a bit too close to our time. Requires many steps to prepare. Yes, increasing the likelihood that they had been passed on. So did the Alduin tools. They were passed on. If cultural transmission is so recent, said Perme, it could explain why so much information can overwhelm us. No, Premo is not very. damn it. No. That's wrong. That's not how culture works. This is an article which I am totally against. Totally not against. Totally. I disagree with it totally. There are all the explanations are there. I've already given them. Given them. Now have a drink. Drinking some beer, guys. It's a little bit of beer. You can see it. So clearly our ability to transmit our culture has helped us pass on the techniques we need to thrive in the wide range of environments across the planet. Yes, so do primates, so do some non-primate animals. That includes dolphins, apparently. And culture also includes language, for example. It's part of it, language. So it does explain our success as a species, and no, it is sort of yes, no. I will do something soon explaining culture better, because these type of articles, they just tick me off a little bit. They're not right. They're not accurate. Moreover, human system of transmitting information can be hijacked. If you've got this system in which you receive information, then you can affect your behaviors. Okay, yes, that's right. All it takes is someone broadcasting information to you that makes you act in a way they prefer. Not a symbol. See, I've been exposed to the Russian hackings of the elections in the United States and elsewhere. I've been exposed to propaganda from left, right, everywhere, and it hasn't modified my behavior. I still think the same. I still act the same. So no, it does not necessarily affect your behavior. All it takes is someone broadcasting information, and if you getting hundreds of messages every day, it can be difficult to discern what is important to you from what is important to someone else. And no, absolutely not. So, gents, this is a very nice article that I have just absolutely debunked, and I am just a simple Bachelor of Arts archaeologist living in Portugal, working in a museum, and that uses all the knowledge which I get from the internet, but it is not influencing me. I discern all sorts. So this article has not influenced me. For example, it has made me disagree with it because it is badly researched, and I haven't researched this, but I know from my past readings, etc., my anecdotal experience. So basically, nice try, but no, we are not the arbiters or the sole species that transmit information, quote unquote, culture to their offspring. And the article's ended. Now I can look at the chat. How are you, everyone? Let's see who's on. Hello, John. Hey, Carlos David, my friend. Shalom Shabbat. You're having Shabbat tomorrow? Tomorrow. Hey, Sam Blake. Warped, my dear. How are you? Crazy Cat, mate. How are you going, mate? Oh, Adam, how are you, mate? What is up, bro? How are you, my friend? I'm using OBS, so this bloody lag from what I'm reading and what you're going to hear is a lot of time. Yes, money cures AIDS. Yes, it does. Soon it will, maybe. So I think I will end it now because it's a nice short article which I have done, and I will end it, and thank you all for coming along. I hope my hey Jesus my I'm looking at my face in, well, the side face anyway, because my camera's here, and I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. I'm not as sexy as Adam and his Apple or some other guys, but oh god.